What's happening? Welcome back to Get a Load of This Trucking Podcast. I am pumped to be back. There's been a lot going on through the first quarter, coming into second quarter, and then the outlook for the
Yeah.
rest of the year. And doom, gloom, is everything collapsing? If you listen to the talking heads of the different groups and the Facebook groups and all these people telling you there's a lot of negativity out there, but luckily I try to talk to real people, real company owners, real guys that are in the trenches with you and kind of get the good, the bad, the ugly. And I do know, we were kind of chatting a little bit off air before, is I feel like people forgot that this is America. And I feel like the biggest economy and the greatest opportunity for anybody to stake their claim,
Succeed.
plant their flag, go make some money and make it happen. And there's so many opportunities out there right now. It boggles my mind. But the purpose of this is to bring value, education, guidance. So I'm hoping that we can get into that stuff from somebody who's actually doing it. So as always, Cameron, your host, driven by Valley Trucking Insurance, coming off that trucking hat right there. With me, you've
Let's
heard him
go.
before on the podcast, and due to popular demand, people want him back. We got him back. My man, Ricky, Ricky Glaubitz from Origin Companies, owner of Openhaul, which is a freight brokerage, and then Origin Transport, which is the asset-based company and trucking company. So, Rick, what's happening, brother?
Yeah, nothing much, man. How you been, Cam? How you doing?
Oh, I'm so good. And especially since seeing you, the weather actually turned. So, not that long ago, I had to make a stop down in Vegas where my guy is, and then got some good weather leaving the freaking never ending winter of Pacific Northwest. But since I got back, it's been like 70s and 80 degrees and that kind of stuff. So, maybe that was, I just need to come to Vegas in the wintertime, come back, weather will be good. So, but I've been good, man. How you been?
Good, good. I play some of the same game. I'll be in Vegas for the winters, and then I'll go up there to Idaho Falls area for that's a game plan through the summer. Just take advantage of both locations, right? Play the field.
Yeah.
Yeah, been really good. I mean, obviously, you already know the brokerage started at this point. I think 10 months, 11 months ago, basically right as all the rates started. The catastrophe and doom and gloom started is basically when we decided to open up our freight brokerage, and then the asset based division's been doing really well. So it's a great time to be alive and to get after it and hustle, and that's what we're doing, man. It's long days, it's hard work, but God, it's fucking fun. I mean, I'm having a ball, and um, I couldn't be happier with my decision to come over here full time and be an invested partner in Origin companies. So
Yeah, and some would probably think you're crazy. And like going way back in my career, I got into sales and in particularly insurance for construction contractors and trucking back in '07, '08. Which for those that have been around for a minute, remember that that was a depression and, we went into a recession and a hard market and all the similar components there. And anyone who is rational thinking would be like, well, why would you do that? Like, why would you get into anything to do with contractors or construction or sales, let alone something that you need to like make money? And I was commissioned only, but I made it through that and I picked up a lot of good habits. And the biggest thing for me was hard work, dedication, being honest, transparent, and just picking up the phones, man. And I feel like you bring a lot of those same qualities. We spent a lot of time chatting, and I admire that about you. So I know there's money to be made and there's ways to do it and there's some strategy behind it. And I'm hoping that we can touch on some of those to maybe give some of these carriers some, lanes or guidance and kind of open their eyes along with the freight brokers. We've got, company guys, freight brokers, carriers, fleet owners, your startups to people that have been in business listening. So let's start kind of wrapping on some of that stuff. What have you seen as the biggest challenge in the first quarter, in the second quarter for this year? And actually, I guess since opening the freight brokerage, let's back up 10 months and kind of get us a fast forward play through that.
sure. So John, my partner, he's been on here too. He had basically, my as I'm sure people have listened to our other episode, I used to sell semi trucks for Kenworth. Before that, I was a freight broker for a really large 3PL, Total Quality Logistics. Before everyone starts hating on me, I did leave, so there's that. And John had the idea of starting a freight brokerage pretty early on in our relationship, probably 2 years ago or so, and I kicked it around, but just didn't. I was enjoying what I was doing and so on, and as our relationship progressed, I kind of took it a little bit more and more seriously. And finally, I mean, June 30th of last year, my birthday actually, we incorporated an open hall, went live, and the brokerage. And, it's just been our goal. We set a goal of to move one load for that first year. Not a very lofty goal. It was just kind of more than anything to have some proof of concept and see what we could do. And yeah, that did not happen. It took off like wildfire. I started calling some of my contacts and just kind of shooting the shit with a couple of friends of mine, and then started getting back into cold calling a little bit because I'm a weirdo that likes doing that, and it just took off. I mean, I think we did just a hair shy of 1 million in sales from June 30th to the end of the year, and it's just continuing to grow and grow. After that first year, I officially left Kenworth, went full time as an invested partner in both companies. Someday in June, someday in January, yeah, in January, and as taking on the role of business development, just kind of negotiations with vendors, building out partnerships, adding more and more freight, and it's been amazing, man. I mean, it's been amazing that I don't take away the people that are having a hard time right now, but I'm hoping this podcast, and this episode can kind of help them and, kind of give them some pointers as far as what we've done and what we've seen has worked, and yeah, just blessed to be a part of this. And the success has been amazing. We just a few weeks ago on our first broker after building out operations, getting everything settled. And so I'm not the only one selling in the brokerage anymore. That's been huge. And we have interviews scheduled for a couple more, some buddies of mine. And yeah, there's so much to cover and so much to unpack. The last 10 months has just felt like a whirlwind, man. It's been insane. It's been insane, but it's been fun.
Oh, I love watching it. Rooting and cheering it on, and obviously we talk a lot and we're integrated. We do business together, so it's been
Yep.
fun and exciting to see. I think one of the cool things that I think for me anyway is you have the background in the transportation piece from brokering before, so freight, so you understand the market, you understand trends, you understand good swings up, bad, all the different things. You also understand the asset side of the house because of dealings with fleet consulting, and actually that's how I met you, right, as a fleet consultant
Hmm.
for Kenworth. So you know what they go through, you understand the day to day, and then you investing into the carrier side or asset based side. So you actually have trucks, a good number of trucks, and best in class in my opinion, because I get to see the back end
Thank you.
for a lot of different companies and how they operate and what they do. And I'd place you guys up there first, the best of them for sure, and the freight brokerage side. So you kind of have this unique perspective where you see all the different sides of the market. And like with the groups that I see and the chatter you hear and all this stuff, it's like brokers are causing this, they're causing me to not have money. And it's like, then the brokers are kind of taking a haircut over here on certain things to make things happen, to keep relationships happy, but then the truck drivers don't understand how that stuff works. And maybe they should or maybe they shouldn't, but what I do find fascinating is you've been able to actually add it as a benefit and enhance your overall value in the marketplace as having assets and a freight brokerage. And it's not selfishly. You guys are helping a tremendous amount of companies and carriers get loads and actually make money in this market. So I know it can be done. Let's talk a little bit about that. These guys that I guess in my opinion, a lot of people need to know their numbers a little bit better to understand what is profitable to actually move the truck. I
Yep.
think that's kind of first and foremost. You could probably have a whole episode into that, but let's assume that they're business owners and let's assume they understand, hey, I'm going to need, $1.89, $2, $3, whatever per mile on average to move this truck and be profitable and still cover all my overhead maintenance and all the different proactive things that they're going to be doing. But what are some ways that they should be looking at the market or trends or reaching out to people like you where they can actually become profitable in this market? Because I think a lot of people, at least everything I see, is like, all right, we're parking our trucks, we're shutting down, we can't make money. I'm going to go on vacation till rates come back above, $1.89 or whatever. All these things that
Yeah.
people say, which I don't think it's true, but negative press gets a lot of play. So let's hear from
Yeah.
your perspective. So
Well, my perspective is you know I feel for the carriers in one on one hand because they are right. As far as demand coming down and it getting harder to run a profitable business within this market, but it's
Yes.
almost like because of the COVID supply chain issues and everything that we went through, there from mid 2020 until quarter three of last year, uh, they almost expect it to be easy. They almost expect there to be 100% margin cushion in there for them to operate their company. And so many carriers of all shapes and sizes, they focus a lot on cost. What are my costs? And they run a cent per mile, which I don't agree with necessarily. They run it off of a cent per mile, which I don't necessarily agree with, but we can cover that later. Uh, and they just find ways to downgrade. They take away services, they cut their own throats in order to have just a slightly lower cost per mile basis in order to operate a little bit cheaper of an operation, be it running, cheaping out on insurance, running, used beat up equipment, paying their drivers less, not investing in technologies and investing in their future. They just strip it down to the bare brass tacks minimum, no back end and no back end support. And then they expect that, that's going to be the saving grace. And what, in my opinion, it couldn't be further from the truth, right? Especially in the day and age that we're in now, where shippers demand from not only brokers but the carrier partners that they use, complete transparency and a lot of investments into different technologies and EDI, API integration type stuff to make sure that there's complete transparency and so on and so forth. That it's they're cutting their own throats, and I think that that's the first step, in my opinion. The biggest difference between Origin, Openhaul, and a lot of the carriers out there is, while we do, of course, monitor our costs and try to keep them in order, we're far more focused on what can we do to increase revenues, what can we do to increase sales per truck per week than we are what can we do to strip our company down to bare brass tacks and uh, you know operate at a lower cost. I want we invest in tools in order to offer our customers something different than what every other logistics provider offers. And that's really been, in our case scenario, the value proposition, the thing that's allowed us to succeed. That and actually having a business model. You know, as far as there's a lot to unpack based off of what the questions you asked. As far as what's going on, the United States is not crumbling. It's not like we're going, this is all just going to suddenly implode and the United States is going to be a third world country. Okay. We got to get past that whole idea. We got to get past blaming things on politics or, freight brokers or shippers or whatever the case scenario is. And actually take responsibility for our own actions. If you're out there and you're running a trucking company, you chose to be a business owner. And it doesn't matter what other people do. The second that you blame it on somebody else, you just gave up complete control, right? You just basically said that you're a victim. And victims, they don't get fed. And you got to embrace the market that you're in and ask what can you do to add the most value in the current market that you're in. And I got, I'd be more than happy to go through what we're doing and what we're focusing on, and how we've seen a lot of success. In fact, probably more success. Our revenue per truck, and literally, I would be more than happy to prove this because no one's going to believe me, but our revenue per truck has actually gone up per week over the course of the last 3 months, not down. Um, yeah, our revenue per truck has gone up, not down, and it's because of the strategies and the partnerships and the persistency that myself and my team have embraced and unrolled. So
Well, and what I do know, and I would say this as an industry and as a group and as a breed, is truck drivers are resilient, right? They're going to get through this. There's a small amount of people chirping, and there is cause for concern for some. And if you're living, you came in the environment, especially in the past 3 years, where I don't want to say it was easy because it's not easy, but easier. And you had these truck notes, you bought brand new equipment, you're living on the spot market, you're getting paid like way inflated prices due to demand. And like you had kind of pointed out, the cause and effect from COVID and the supply chain issues. Well, now you're coming into more of a real swing for trucking. And the people that have been around long enough understand how to weather that, understand how to lean on relationships that they built, understand that they need to take less cost here to operate on a baseline, but then they can take these trucks, move them here, and go get a little bit more specialized freight that will pay them more to actually, allow them to run at a profitable amount. But what I think
100%.
happens is these new people that are only focused or listen to the negative, and like they're hanging it up, and like they're really kind of getting put through the paces right now. They need some guidance, I feel like. They're looking at DAT or the load board or wherever they're at, and all they're seeing are the trends that get posted from that, and the negative,
Yeah.
negative, negative. Although recently, actually, I just saw it uptick, which is good. So at least
Yeah.
from that stance, that's good. That gives a little bit of hope there. But what should some of these smaller operations or new guys do, or less than 10 trucks be doing to find better paying loads, to find good relationships or better relationships or stable relationships where they're not just dependent on the market and the spot market and load boards? Like, what's your recommendation there? Because I feel like that's a formula you guys have been intentional about. You mentioned business strategy, so you actually put thought into it. You're not just a goldfish that's like a flashy thing and you follow it, and flashes here and you follow it. Like you guys are disciplined in that, and I know that these truck
Yeah.
drivers are disciplined. I feel like some of them just maybe need a little nudge or guidance or a roadmap, pun intended, right? So
Understanding.
let's
Yeah.
talk about that a little bit.
Sure, let's do it. So, yeah, this is where we've spent a lot of time, and it's been hard. We've turned down a lot of big loads, especially during that COVID era, to stay dedicated to our business plan and strategy, and it's working. And so here's the few things that I would recommend immediately. And I love that you separated it from, into, hey, what about those one truck owner operator, 1 to 10 truck owner operator, type smaller fleets, because that is a whole different game that they're playing versus the larger fleets. And um, a couple recommendations for those guys. First off, I'm going to tell you now, most businesses, and I'm sure you could attest to this, Cam, most businesses don't get to go into business without ever having any kind of clients whatsoever. That's why the barrier to entry is so low in trucking, is because you can go buy some equipment, hop in the truck, get your insurance, get your authority, get everything in place, and go hit load boards and make some money, or you could make money that way. But that is not actually how business is supposed to work. That's not how trucking business is supposed to work either. You know, uh, Businesses need clients, actual clients, actual partnerships, and they need a business model, something that they follow, that they do, that's different than their competitors. That's their value proposition, right? That's their identity. And what I would encourage a lot of these guys to do is first have an honest conversation with themselves about how much work, how much time, how real are they about running this business. If you're not in this for the love of the game and wanting to truck, I'll tell you right now. I mean, it's a lot of hard work, and what I would do is I'd recommend you take your trucks, you go lease onto a fleet who is willing to make those investments. Now, on the flip side of that, if you are somebody who's taking this seriously, you do want to make it work, and you do want to see it explode, I have a couple key things that would probably help you out a lot, at least as far as what we did. First, the first step's real simple, just building out, an identity and specialization. What application are you? I see small owner operators and small fleets bounce around. That they'll have dry vans one day, the dry van market falls out, and suddenly they sell off their dry vans for pennies on the dollar, and they go and buy flatbeds because open deck's doing well, and then process repeat every time the spot market changes. Stop that. Have stay true to what you do. Uh, pick an application, whatever it may be, and after that, pick an identity as far as lanes go. Right, that's how you build partnerships. So whatever it may be, it could be from the West Coast to the Midwest. It could be the 11 Western state. It could be whatever your actual lane is. If you're a small carrier, you don't have a ton of capacity, so you have to consolidate that capacity down into a market. So you start to make familiar faces and start to learn that market. So that's the first thing. Actually build your identity, specialize in a lane and an application. And once you've done that, that's kind of the start of your business plan. Learn that market. I mean, there's ups and downs. These ups and downs that you see in freight are not they're cyclical. They're not random, right? And they're not because Joe Biden. There's different things that play a part in different markets. So as you know, Cam, we're a refrigerated carrier. Produce produce seasons, things grow at certain times, right? And they come into play at different times. That drives rates and freight, rates in different markets at different times for different reasons. So really understand, if you're hauling outbound Idaho and, the harvest season for potatoes is in October, you need to understand that that's what's driving those higher rates in Q4. Or, maybe you're hauling out of Wisconsin, and there's a ton of cheese that comes out of there. When is production high? When is it low? What drives that market? And understand that lane. Stop paying attention to the macroeconomics that everybody's talking about in freight, that you see all that bad news. Stop paying attention to that and actually pay attention to your business, your model, and what you do and specialize in, and learn that market like the back of your hand. If someone says, what's going to happen on your lane in July, you need to be able to tell them exactly what's going to happen, why it's going to happen, and what commodities, cargo, fleets, capacities are going to drive that. Once you understand, then now you can sell. And this is a key piece that I see so many carriers of all shapes and sizes just cast to the wayside. None of them really invest in a sales force, and you should. 100% you should. That's how most businesses work. If you don't go out and prospect, Cam, no one's knocking down your door. There's no brokers you get to go to that will say, hey, I can sell you this insurance policy, and then you could sell the insurance policy and make a spread. You actually have to go out and get yours. You got to go out and get some, right? Like, you got to go out and
Yep,
get after it. And
100%.
same thing, the same thing here. Once you know your market, you're going to learn really, really quickly. And there's tools you can use, which we can go into, to learn really quickly what shippers are in your area that run those lanes, on both ends for your deliveries and pickups. You're going to learn what brokers are stalwarts within that lane, and you're going to start having the opportunity to build those partnerships. So that's huge. And build yourself an elevator pitch. It sounds corny, but if you do these things, you build a true identity. You're going to quickly be able to understand what it is about your capacity that is different from everybody else's. And that's everyone's biggest mistake. Stop chasing the next big load, and start worrying about your business, and making a modest profit. And you'll go leaps and bounds. Some of it just by accident. You'll run into brokers because you've been traveling that lane so often, and some of it on purpose. Actually going out, prospecting, selling, meeting, networking, going to conventions, and making calls while you're in the truck, and learning, and touching base with these shippers and following up and figuring out exactly what they need, and explaining to them how you're going to solve their problems, right? Once you're able to do that, you would be surprised how much that fixes your issues. Now, that doesn't mean you go into the shipper and you quote them $5 a mile. That's a thing of the past. If you're new to this industry, you got in during the COVID times, and you want those rates back. I hate to be so blunt, but it's not going to happen, right? Trucking companies don't make 100% margins. Their operating ratios, even the best of the best trucking companies' operating ratios, is somewhere around 80%. And that's proven by publicly traded trucking companies, right? So you need to make a modest profit, just like most business owners. You go in and you offer that. You need to know what your costs are to know what the profit margins are. You need to know what the backhauls are paying, what your customers are paying on both ends, to make sure that you're meeting those costs, and go in and offer your services at a consistent contracted rate. The last little piece that I would explain, that I think is extremely paramount for all trucking companies to understand, from that 1 to 10 truck range, is that you're operating in two separate markets. The reason that the rates got insane, if you ask why, is because there was a ton of contracted freight getting pushed into the spot freight market. What they call tender rejections, right? The first primary carrier was rejecting the order that they received, that they bid, and then that is forced to go to either brokers or basically and then carriers were bidding on that. Well, tons of loads with the same amount of capacity, or even slightly elevated capacity, equals much, much better rates. But that's the spot market, right? That's, just last second. The spot market, I guess, is what I'm trying to say, is a sign of inefficiencies, Cam. Like, if the load is going to the spot market and getting moved on the spot market, 9 times out of 10, that is actually triggered as a sign of an inefficiency for a company, right? That's a sign that their supply chain is breaking down because it had to go to the spot market to get fulfilled. contract is where you want to be at. So kind of giving you an example, the I think tender rejections got as high as like 26%, meaning one out of every four loads were hitting the spot market at one point. A healthy market somewhere around 6 or 7%, tender rejections, so about a quarter of that. And I think we're sitting hovering somewhere around 2% right now. So nothing's getting pushed to spot. Doesn't mean necessarily that loads aren't getting moved. Loads are definitely getting moved. We're proof of that. But what it does mean is if you're just waiting for it to hit DAT load board or truck stop or whatever it is that you use, keep waiting because it's not going to be there, and if it is there, it's not going to pay very good because there's hundreds, thousands of other carriers hoping for the same thing. So I'm kind of rattling on, but my point being is you got to get over to the contracted side. That's what shippers want anyway, right? They want consistent capacity at a consistent rate that they can budget for, that's dependable. They know exactly whose truck that's going on. This is what they're looking for. They're waiting for you to call. The difference is instead of you calling, I'm calling. And so I'm getting the freight and I'm putting it through my brokerage or my asset division, whatever the case is. And they're choosing to partner. They don't know you exist. So market, and make those calls and build those relationships. So that's that was a lot, but I hope that it kind of helps a little in some way. And you got to stop. You manifest your own destiny. It's corny, but it's true. And if you're just sitting there telling yourself and watching the news and seeing how negative everything is, you already fucking lost. You know what I mean? Excuse my language, but you're already a fucking loser.
We're a trucking podcast. We're good, man.
You know,
Well, okay. Everyone needs to rewind that, re-listen to that, and take some notes because that's how I feel right now. Is you got to go back and unpack all the different things and stuff there. From my perspective, if I was a trucking company or an entrepreneur or a fleet owner, whatever, they're like, I feel like fleets or established companies have established an identity. So you have a business plan, you have a strategy, you have a game plan, you have an identity, and really most important in all this is you pay attention to the market. You pay attention to who's shipping, to who's receiving. You pay attention to who you need to call, introduce yourself, get in front of and say, this is my identity. This is how I can help you, how I differentiate myself, what that does. And this is where I think people get tunnel visioned is they're looking at the swings on real time. Well, if you just scale back your lens to, let's just say, a 6-month window or a 9-month window, well, now you've got the waves. And now you can actually ride those waves on an average over 6 to 9 months versus a 1-month wave. Because you're going to freak out when that wave goes down because your numbers don't make sense anymore. But if you just back it up a little bit, your numbers are going to make a little bit more sense. You got a lot more stability and you understand it will rebound and come back, especially because I did all the work, established my identity. I'm really good at what I do. I'm super reliable. I was there to pick up those loads. I built this relationship and now they've got me on dedicated lanes 3 out of the 5 days. Right. And I'm maybe not getting paid the most, especially in those waves, but I'm getting paid the entire time. So now I can rely upon it and now I can build upon that and I can bring more assets to the table and I can fulfill more demand and command as it comes. And as you grow, which I think not everyone's ambition is to do that, but if it is, you can then have a stable force there and pull guys off, go here, follow that. Like you can do all kinds of stuff once you're in a position of power, right? And you know your identity and you're not just flip-flopping and wishy-washy on what I'm going to haul this week and next week and this week, and so I love that you kind of touched on all that kind of stuff. Let's talk about, you mentioned a couple tools, and I think this is important because a lot of people just look to the groups or the Facebook or their friends doing this or whatever, and DAT's the king, right? They just like they own everything, right? But what are some of those tools and how could one utilize them to figure out, oh, these guys are shipping it? And then before I do that, I would say sales is not a bad term. People associate sales as a bad thing. What I do know is life revolves around negotiations. You negotiate with your wife, your kids, your everything in this world has a negotiation involved. I would say pick up an audiobook. One I'd recommend is Never Split the Difference. Chris Voss, he's an FBI negotiator. It will make sense when you listen to it on how you can apply it to your life and like in trucking and in business and whatever else you're trying to do. But you have to understand the inner workings and psychology and like how to basically, I don't want to say influence because it's not a negative thing, but how to get what you want to where both parties are happy, right? Nobody's ever going to be completely happy, but how do you get a common objective accomplished there? And then you be that person to them because you created this identity.
Mhm.
So I just wanted to do a quick little plug on that. You guys are in a truck all day. You have so much time to get an education and learn, and there's no excuse to not get content when you're driving. I mean, absolutely
Absolutely.
none with with what's available. But let's go over those tools though. So what are those tools? How would one use them? How would they just a color me by numbers step guide to make a play there? What do you think?
Yeah, well, there's a billion tools. So as far as like prospecting and building out once you've actually built your identity, you understand your lane, what you're trying to do, you understand your market, your race, where you need to be. The tools that you can use to prospect and actually land these shippers and so on. Those are lead generation tools. So me personally, the first tool that everyone knows about are just shippers lists. I'd stay away from the shippers lists. If they're telling you that it's going to cost you $50 or something like that to have a list of every shipper in your area, they're fucking lying to you, and everybody's already bought it and everybody's already called through it, and that's a good way to lose. So that's, in my opinion, just stay away from those. Do actual true lead generation software. Us personally, we've invested in Zoom Info. Love those guys. Absolutely a plug. Like that's just been a mind-boggling tool to utilize, but it is expensive. Um, in my opinion, if you're just getting started out, you're that 1 to 10 truck fleet, and you're just getting started in sales. Once you've educated yourself on through tools like my big recommendation would be How to Win Friends, right? How to Win Friends and Influence People. That's a great book and audio tape to take advantage of. Never Split the Difference would probably be right up there with that. And you've learned kind of that, and you've developed that skill. Apollo is a good one. You can go to, I think it's Apollo.io, and it costs maybe 50 or $100 a month. And it's what it does is it gives you a list. You can set parameters and filters to build a list of a certain kind of company, and then actually filter down what point of contacts you're actually looking for, and then it'll provide the information for those point of contacts, names, emails, phone numbers, and so on. And then build a list off of that. And at that point, the tool that you're going to use is your cell phone. You're gonna pick up and make some goddamn dials is what you're gonna do, and feel a little bit of rejection, but at the same time have some wins too. And it should be clear. Don't go in there and say and you know don't lose sight of what your business model and expertise is. If somebody says, if you're traveling back and forth between, let's say, Florida and New Jersey and back every week, and that's your business model, and they say, well, I do have Florida loads, but my Florida loads go to Texas and they pay good. While you could put some thought into it, I would stay completely away. I would say, hey, listen, sounds great. I don't think I'm the best fit for that, but I can put you in contact with somebody who might be. However you want to handle that situation, stay true to what you do great at. Listen, this is what we do. We do it better than anybody else in the nation, and here's why. Understand what that value proposition is and go and offer it, and you're going to call down that list. So tool number one, Apollo for lead generation. Tool number two is any kind of transparency tool known to man. Listen, if you're one of those guys that is, I will not track, I will not, you'll get the documentations. It gets there when it gets there. I'm reliable. You don't need. You're living in the past, man. If you got a fucking flip phone still, like, bro, buy an iPhone. Like it's like in what these shippers. My point being is what these shippers are looking for foremost is complete transparency. They're looking for somebody, and what we pitch and what we talk a lot about is giving back control through transparency. And communication. They want to be able to talk direct to drivers. That's why they do love asset-based companies. That's why they will love you when you call. They want to know and see and understand exactly where your truck's at all times, and they have the right to. They have 50, 100, sometimes even $250,000 in the back of your trailer per load, and they're shipping. God, they could be shipping hundreds of those a week, and give them that. Give them that. So tools to invest in would be anything that gives transparency, that gives them PODs, BOLs, paperwork, pictures, security, immediately, access to that immediately. The more information that you can provide these shippers about where their cargo's at, how it's doing, and what condition and state it's in, eh, that's a pretty big value proposition for these guys, right? So uh, those would be primarily the two first tools that I would advocate for when getting into that. Pending if you're more towards that 10 truck fleet size, a traffic management system that's open API is a fantastic investment. There's a lot of them out there. Us personally, we use Turbo. Turbo is amazing, and it integrates well with all the shippers technologies that they use, right? So they have a traffic management, warehouse management platforms that allow them to keep track of everything and keep everything and watch everything. Um, these your traffic management system will integrate in with theirs that will allow once again that full transparency, and it also kind of separates you a little bit from your competition. So um, that would be a great thing to invest in, obviously, in my opinion. And really, if you're a one to, it changes as you continue to grow, but if you're 1 to 10 trucks, those are the primary things that I am literally going out. I'm getting tomorrow. That way, I can educate myself, have the tools, build a value proposition, and sell it to people who could take advantage of it. Take advantage of it. That it's mutually beneficial to both myself and them. Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. Super sound advice. And I think people need to embrace technology, those that don't, because, oh man, it's such an enhancement to what you can do, connects you with people that you could have never been connected with. Something I like to think about too is like networking, right? So, like, normally an insurance agent, and I'm just gonna just make this scenario because we just recently did this, is I had an asset based company on the opposite side of the country that we were talking, and like I
Yeah.
understand what their needs are, I understand what freight they run, I understand that they're good, and I reach out to Rick and I'm like, hey Rick, help me out a little bit. So I've got this company I want to connect you to because I know we got the brokerage side. What can we do? So I'm doing anything I can to bring value to my clients and make connections and make introductions, whether or not they work out or don't work out. It's neither here nor there, but I'm going to put good people with other good people that I would stamp and just say, give me your thoughts on this. And then at that being said, the more I understand about the market, when I talk to Rick, he gives me so many good ideas. I can then turn around, talk to my clients and carriers that maybe are struggling and give them some tips and say, hey, look at
Absolutely.
these types of things, talk to these people, here's maybe what I would try to do. And I try to focus on not just insurance, I try to focus on business, I try to focus on relationships, coaching, I try to focus on safety, operations, how do we get more profitability into your pocket, how do we do leadership and training and driver education, like all these different things that I try to do. And it happens with networking, right? It happens with talking to people and just not being afraid to just communicate and share your problems and ask for help and ask for introductions. I mean, I think that that's huge. And I
Absolutely.
think a lot of truckers need to embrace that. And if you're working in any capacity from your factoring company to your freight broker to your buddy, whoever, you can't be afraid to just ask, hey, here's
Mm,
what I'm thinking. Here's what I'm struggling with. Or who do you know that can help? Because successful people want to help other people. They truly do. They
mm,
want to help you succeed. Normally, in my mind, if I was on the outside and I was negative, I'd be like, there's no way that Rick, who owns a brokerage but also an asset company, would ever help another trucking company across the country. Like, there's no way. Like, why would somebody do that? But that's not how this world works. That's not how the economy, like, you know, the other good thing, I think this is good for people to think about when you're starting to create an identity and when you're trying to be the best at that niche. When what you say yes to, you're saying no to something. So when you say yes, what are you saying no to? Are you stepping over $100 bills to pick up that dollar because it happens to
mm.
be shiny and right in your face and not, it's going to take a little
Easy.
bit of work to get that. It's easy, right? So like I like to keep those things in mind for myself, for my salespeople, for my clients when we're having conversations, right? And I feel like you hit the nail on the head there, where it's like we had a game plan, we stuck to it, and we said no if it didn't fit, even though you would have made a lot more money, perceived money at the time, in saying yes to opportunities. And it takes a lot of
Oh yeah.
discipline to say no, man, because I'm a salesperson, but I love opportunity. And so like it's like I say yes to a lot of things I probably shouldn't. So I gotta reel it back in and be like, okay, you got to say no to some stuff. But Anyway, I just kind of wanted to kind of go on a little rant about that because you got me thinking. That's why I love these conversations. It's like I get all fired up like you do. And obviously there's passion about the industry and the truckers and community. And all I want is people to be successful. All I want is people to follow through with their dream. They had a dream, they bought a truck, they wanted to do this. Like, don't give up because it gets hard. Why would we do that? Figure it out. So that's why we're here. That's why we're
Yeah.
talking. So
Yeah, one of the, I got two comments on that. I mean, first the networking point, right? I'm 28 years old. I own a trucking company, 21 trucks at this point, all brand new equipment. Gorgeous. Go to origin.com to check us out. I own obviously the freight brokerage, building that out, a couple other endeavors as well. And I'm not tooting my own horn. What I'm getting at is everything that I have, I owe to my network and my relationships and my partnerships. They're the people that got me here. Not but to an extent myself and in a way myself, but really it was people that chose to do business and partner with me. And relationships and a network is just brilliant. The best thing, and I wanted to plug a book right now, but I can't remember which one it is. But they
so
explain
many.
networking. They explain networking as you're the center of the tornado, the center of the storm, and as you build, when you make a contact with one person, that one person isn't one person. You're making a contact with them and then all of their contacts and and so on, and you can build a network super super quick if you know what questions, what the right questions are to ask, and then of course be an honest genuine person yourself. That's kind of important. The network effect is, I mean, I literally owe everything to it. I mean, it's true. It works. And leveraging relationships is not a bad thing. It might have bad context, but leveraging relationships and offering your relationships and yourself to be leveraged as well, that is literally how this economy was built and how business works. So make those contacts. It's the funniest thing. I mean, I sold trucks, right? Technically speaking, all I did was sell trucks, but I can't tell you how many times I secured business for my dealership because of things that had absolutely nothing to do with the equipment and with the truck. So that's part one, and as far and outside of that, as far as you're getting into this and making that decision, one thing I like to tell myself, one thing I like to look at is, let's say we're at 100% capacity right now. We have 100% of the fleets in place right now. If I were to remove 10% of the bottom feeders and now we only have 90% of that 100%, what's the freight market look like? Okay, if I were to move 20%, what's the freight market look like? Like, how much of a percentage do I need to remove before the freight market starts to look a lot better? Well, it's not much, right? It's not very much. But let's be extraordinarily aggressive here and say we need to remove 20% of the capacity off the market to get back to higher end rates. Well, you need to ask yourself, are you better than the bottom 20%? Like, do you believe that you, as an operator, as a human being, and as a business, is better than the bottom 20% of the market? Me personally, I believe I'm better than 100% of the market. But if you believe you're at least within the top 80%, then why in the fuck would you quit after all this work, everything, all this money, all this time and effort that you've spent, trying to build out your dream? It's harder. But the question is, but the thing is we're all on an equal playing field, and if it's harder for you, it's harder for everybody else. The question is, are you more capable of operating within a harder, on a harder difficulty level than your competitors? Because every single trucking company is not going to go out of business. And if it did, we got much, much bigger problems. Then is our business going to stay alive? You just need to be better than your competition. And the way to do that, it always comes back to just the fundamentals, man. Building out skill sets, building yourself and turning yourself into something that creates value for others. And your business works the exact same way. So that's probably It honestly pisses me off, Cam. Like it really does. It frustrates the shit out of me. The reason I am willing to help, what would be a competitor, is because anybody who wants to succeed, I want to see them succeed. And it sucks when I can't be around, and it sucks to see is when people just get down in the dumps and negative, and they listen to the news and they say they're never going to make it, and fuel's high and rates are down, and this and that, and the Feds just hiked the interest rates another quarter point, and banks are breaking, and it's like sure, all that's true, but what are you going to do about that? Like, do you have $50 billion to donate to the government now? Okay, so let's not worry about that, right? Like, what you need to say is, what can I do for myself, my family, and all the mouths that I feed within this company that I have built? And how can I become better than the people that I am out there competing with? And if you want it, and it is truly something that you wanna do, uh, I can't. I want 100%. Believe. I want you to 100% believe in me when I tell you that you'll get it. It'll happen. You're fine. Like that sheer want, will, and desire is something that will propel you past the bottom 10, 20, 30, 50% anyway, because a lot of people are in here just to make money or take advantage of depreciation or whatever the case scenario is. If you have a higher purpose and a better why, I mean, you'll be just fine. I'm not a college educated individual. My family, the value that I bring to the table is pretty much I work hard. But what I've built myself into, and the relationships I've created, and the network effect that's been built has allowed me to have a lot of success in my life. And you know, there's absolute, if I can do it, anybody can do it, I guess is what I'm saying,
Absolutely.
and yeah, just fucking snap out of it. Snap, remind yourself that you're the man or the woman, you, you remind yourself why you're here. And I mean, that's half of it, just get your mind right and you'll be just fine. Like it's not rocket science, it's trucking. So,
Yeah, that's why I love calling you a friend, man. This stuff's refreshing. And then, one of the most important questions that I ask a potential client, which has nothing to do with insurance, like people think like, oh, I'm calling to get an insurance quote. Well, I really don't even talk about insurance much until we get to uncovering the reasons why we're talking and how'd you arrive here. But is why. So like in my, let's call it the discovery conversation or whatever,
mm-hmm.
is, hey, why did you get into trucking? Why do you own a business? Why do you do what you do? I want to know that because it helps me, but I want you to remind yourself too why you are doing it. And I think most people, sure, you get into it to make an income and a living and stuff like that. But I mean, attorneys, there's a lot of professions that make a lot more money that if it was only driven by money, you'd go do something else. So why?
Yeah.
Right. And so that's important to me to help others. And I think that, I mean, I would pretty much put that on the billboard and say, okay, hey, why are you doing this? Remind yourself, right? And then use that as the motivation. That's why I get up every day. Is I got two little beautiful girls that I need to be a good example for. I've got, tons of mouths that I am responsible for getting fed, and I have no option for failure. I'm not gonna fucking fail, right? There's no way. And it's not a failure unless you give up and decide that you failed, right?
That's it.
I
Yeah.
mean,
Oh,
like, let's go. I mean, shit.
preach.
So we can't get too amped up, man. We're coming to the end of this thing, and we're about to rally on a tangent to do a whole another podcast after we do. But no, man, I love that. So hell yeah. Hey, real quick, just because I'm excited. I know you're excited. What's something you're excited about to finish this year and kind of the road ahead, man? What are you looking forward to?
Oh boy, so much. As far as the businesses go, Cam, or are you just mean the
Just
market in general?
anything,
Like,
man. Life, business, the industry, whatever.
well, yeah, I mean, yeah, I don't even know where to start. I'm really excited for the brokerage. I think traditional brokerages are broken. I do. I think that spot boards are going to become a thing of the past. I think that I think that this industry is so ripe for innovation. I mean, let's be honest, most trucking companies and brokerages still live in like the 1990s. I mean, I swear to God, I can just picture like the cigars and pinstripe suits now. And,
That's because you're still in
it's
your
just,
20s. All of us that are older are like, dude, 90s is just like yesterday, bro.
uh,
You fuck you, Rick.
Yeah, yeah, and I mean, it's just, what can I say, man? I mean, it's just, all I can see is opportunity, and I don't even know where to start. I want to scale. I'm excited for what we have in mind, what the
Let's
actual
go.
finished vision and what the finished product looks like. We want to build a full service logistics firm for our specific lanes and what we offer. We want to offer, obviously the brokerage kind of being the head of it. We're bringing on brokers now and growing that out to not only encourage and have more sales, but also to be able to offer the platform that my partners and I have built that we believe creates true value for our shippers, transparency, honesty, instantaneous communication, true flexibility. The goal is what we're trying to solve for is supply chain fragmentation. And I don't want there to be any difference whatsoever. I don't want there to be. I want a logistics coordinator to be able to put a load on my truck, and not know that it was on my truck instead of theirs. You know what I mean? Them to have
Right.
every single everything to be the same, and we're accomplishing that, and we're damn close. And so I'm excited to watch the firm as a whole grow. I'm excited to watch the asset division continue to grow. Excited to get into some storage opportunities. And for the industry, man, what I'm really excited for, and I hope I don't receive too much hate for this, I'm excited to watch the spot market disappear a little bit more. Like I said, I truly believe that is a sign of inefficiencies within the supply chain for companies. I believe that hurts companies, not helps them. And I believe that the days are gone where you need a massive, CHTQ, these massive brokerages in order to run your business. I think you can truly have complete transparency up and down the supply chain, and brokers and carriers can actually work together and not hate each other and blame each other for everything, to where they can create true partnerships. And that the industry, this is going to be hard, and you're going to watch some people fail. That happens in business and life in general. But for
Yeah.
the ones that make it out on the other side, you're going to see a whole different version of over the road domestic freight, uh, business model, essentially how it all works. And that's exciting. That's an exciting future. Have you ever, I'm sure you've used like Uber Eats or
Oh yeah.
Postmates or something like that, right, Cam? Okay.
Yep.
And I'm sure most of your audience has too. And so I don't know if you have me, I'm impatient when I order my food. It's because I'm hungry and I want it now. So I order my food and you can see the driver's name, contact information, their license plate. You communicate with them instantaneously, and you can literally watch their fucking car, pick your food up, drive over, and deliver it to you. Right?
Yep. Yeah,
I
it's good.
believe
Transparency is good.
it's fucking amazing, and I believe that here very very soon, that is what over the road full truckload freight's going to look like, 100%, in all applications across the board, and it should. And the people that get closer to offering that, they're going to be the winners. So that's what I'm excited for, man. I mean, it's pumping me up just fucking talking about it. Like,
Yeah.
let's go make some calls,
Let's
baby.
go. Let's
Let's
go.
go.
No, and I'm
So
pumped too to partner. I mean, and I'll just put it out there. Like I'm a partner to you guys, obviously, and I'm always connecting
huge
with you.
partner.
Like, hey man, I got these. Hey, this. Here's a contact or connection. Like let's get this thing going. And so, from the insurance standpoint, most people don't even think about it, but it's like, no, man, I'm trying to connect you with people like Rick that can help you actually succeed. And the reason um, that I liked when I first met Rick when he was a truck salesman, as he puts it. He wasn't a truck salesman. Rick helped people get wealth and build money and strategize and put them in contact with people that cared, that knew the industry, that were respective in their own professions, right, in their own lanes, which is how we connected. And I knew that he was different. It's like he's not just selling a truck. He's trying to figure out who to connect with, who to help them, to educate them here, to try to make them successful, because he knows like he's successful, so he wants other people to do it. But then successful people stay in business. Our whole goal is to just get people to that dream and remember why they did it and stay in business, and do what you set out to do. Like
Yeah.
you didn't do it to just start and fail. I know you didn't do that, right? So like keep going. I'm pumped to watch the growth, the success. I'm excited on to help you guys succeed too. So I'll make sure there's a link to to open haul on there. But how can they get a hold of you, Rick, if people are interested in connecting with the freight brokerage side of the house, or even just touching base with you in general? What's the best ways to
Yeah,
get a hold of you?
yeah, please, please. So, our the best way to get a hold of me is by email. That's going to be richard@openhaul.com, richard@openhaul.com, and or hit me up on LinkedIn. I'm a big LinkedIn fan. So, Richard Glaubitz. I'm sure you can put a link to my profile in there. And please reach out. I mean, anything that I can do to help out, anything I can do to create new relationships and help you create new relationships. That's all I'm here for. If you want to talk about, we were talking about higher whys. My why is really similar to yours, Cam's. That's why we've always seen eye to eye. Um, uh, you know, money comes and goes. Friendships shouldn't. Relationships shouldn't. And there's a way to build those out, and there's a way to help everybody. And that's the way you got to look at it. How would I be able to help somebody? And if and anything that I can do to provide more information, to help you book a little bit better paying freight, to help you to take a second to look through your business and make some recommendations, anything at all that I can do. I'm I'm stoked. Yeah, absolutely. Like let's get after it. So
Let's go. Yeah,
it'll
man.
take all of us, the outside of the stuff that I laid out, the last little thing I would say, guys, is it, all small carriers, if you work together, are better in numbers, I guess is what I'm saying. That doesn't mean you have to have a 500 truck fleet. What that means is you have to work together with other carriers, be it big or large, or or small, excuse me, and be willing to work together and create something big utilizing all your partnerships. So let's build them, baby. I mean, let's build them. Don't be shy, and don't be shy and ask questions. And we're here to help. I'm being dead honest. Contact me anytime. So
Okay. I appreciate you. And I thank you for taking the time, man. I know you're busy. I know stepping away is super valuable, but it was so valuable having you on and getting a refreshing view of the market and the opportunity that's available. So, like, I appreciate it. You know that. I appreciate you. So,
of course, man.
everyone, I'll put his connection links in the comments, or the show notes, whatever you're going to be listening on. As always, find it on Spotify, YouTube, whatever. There's a Facebook group. Get a load of this trucking Facebook group. We try to put out a lot of good content in there and value. Connect with us on LinkedIn. Follow us. Give us a call. Hit my man Rick up. I call him Ricky, so Richard Rick. It kind of you throw me off, but
Dick, whatever you
call him
want to call
whatever.
it.
I'm not going to say.
All of it.
I'm
Yeah.
not going to drop the cold call line. I should, but we won't. We'll keep the end professional. So, as always,
Yeah,
till next
buddy.
time. Appreciate you guys. Thank you.